4th of July. First of all, why would I'm an Israeli. I'm not an American. I was born and raised here. I live here in Israel. I don't live in America. Why should I don't celebrate any other Independence Day. I don't celebrate the Independence Day of India, even though it's the largest democracy in the world, not America. People say the greatest, the biggest. No, India is bigger than America as far as the people, the number of people, and it's a democracy. Again, some could claim things about the nature of the democracy, but in every country, people could. I don't celebrate Indian Independence Day or any other Independence Day, but American Independence Day is a difference because America has really helped the world kind of change, offers a different perspective. It's American exceptionalism is not, in my opinion, just a myth. It's a nation that is not based on the past, which most nations are, including the nation of Israel. We claim to be the collective of one individual by the name of Israel. That is Jacob. America is a nation based on a common future, common set of values, which propagates or which leads to a common future, and that is very different. And the values, which makes the values that much more important in the discussion, right? Because it's not, me and my cousins, we can argue and have different values and different perspectives. We're still family. In America, you're not a family in the sense of you can be Chinese American, you can be Jewish American, you can be Irish American, you can be Italian American, you can be Jamaican American, or whatever. Okay, it's not the family ties that makes it the nation, but rather the values and the common future. This is an interesting, uniqueness of the American case. Now, when another commonality between Israel and America is that we both got our independence by fighting the British. Okay, getting rid of the English. Okay. Right, it not exactly the same time frame, but we both had to. And by the way, India as well. Okay, if we already mentioned India earlier. Now, Hebrew, I think it's a little bit too. How clickbaits, how it works. It's not that Hebrew almost became the official U.S. language. It's a little bit of an exaggeration, but. William Gifford writes the following. Let's have someone read this. Monica, would you like to read this?
The Puritans who fled from this country to New England at the beginning of the Civil War carried this prejudice with them, and so deeply was it rooted that in the rebellion of the colonies, a member of the state seriously proposed to Congress the putting down of the English language by law and decreeing the universal adoption of the Hebrew in its stead.
So this is William Gifford. He was an English essayist, and he wrote. He was the first, I think, editor of the Quarterly Review. This was published somewhere else. Later on, by the way, this state is New England when he says this state. And later on, some have noted that he wasn't the first one to mention it, and it might be actually going back to this French figure who wrote this. I don't know, is it large enough? Let's see this. This is also interesting for other reasons. So let's have someone read this. Betsy, can you see this? Is it a bit large enough?
Yes, it is.
Would you like to read this starting from as for the Americans? Note that, you've got some of the
I see them. Yes, my FSs.
Right. So go ahead.
Okay. As for the Americans, they testify more surprise than peevishness at meeting with a foreigner who did not understand English. But if they are indebted for this opinion to a prejudice of education, a fort of national pride, that pride suffered not a little from the reflection which frequently occurred of the language of the country being that of their oppressors. Accordingly, they avoided these expressions. You speak English, you understand English well. And I have often heard them say, you speak American well. The American is not difficult to learn. Nay, they have carried it even so far as seriously to propose introducing a new language. And some persons were desirous, for the convenience of the public, that the Hebrew would be substituted for the English. The proposal was that it should be taught in the schools and made use of in all public acts. We may imagine that this project went no farther, but we may conclude from the mere suggestion that the Americans could not express in a more energetic manner their aversion for the English.
So, first of all,
It was war, Netanel.
yeah. No, but I want to say, first of all, this sentiment with the English and the English, that is to get rid of the English in order to get rid of the English, is something that we have experienced as a nation during the 40s, the 30s, and the 40s. So it's something that we know all too well. This is this French writer who writes it. He wrote it in French. He wrote a book called Travels in North America, or at least the English translation, and it was printed in 1787. So it's he writes about his journey in America in 1780 to 1782. So we're talking about people who were right then and there, and it's interesting. It's very interesting. By the way, if you want me to send you the text, I will send you. I'm not hiding anything. And so Hebrew almost became, I think it's a little bit a stretch to say it almost became the official language of the US, but it was suggested, okay? And it's understandable because the sentiment that the Americans, the settlers, had towards the Hebrew and the Hebrew Bible and the way they viewed it themselves was very much, as the new Israelites, the new Hebrews, okay? And when they considered what would be the seal, what would be the sign of America, you might know the seal as it is today, but this was a motto and a seal that was suggested, as you know, but not used. That the seal is different. Suggested by Benjamin Franklin. Okay, a motto: "Rebellion to tyrants is obedience to God." That was a motto that was suggested. Thomas Jefferson fancied that motto so much, he took it as his own seal. It did not become the seal of America, as you know, but it did become the seal of the personal seal of Thomas Jefferson. Okay, and the concept of the Exodus and the story of the people of Israel coming out of Egypt inspired the founding fathers and inspired the story of America deeply. I don't know if you know this. Again, it doesn't mean that I recommend all I don't know how many pages, 1,000 and something, I don't know, maybe more than 2,000 pages of this Founder's Bible. I'll just, there is this Founder's Bible. Can you see this on screen?
No.
No,
Yes.
but
No. This is
I'll
the
just a
rebellion, the
second. I'll stop the
tyrants.
share, and then you'll see this. Do you see Founder's Bible?
Oh, yes, there it is.
It is an interesting edition of the Bible. You know, I collect Bibles. I got from students of all over the world. People sent me Bibles, so I have about 100 different Bibles. And this Bible is interesting for those of you who take interest in American history. It was, it's an English Bible. It's not a Hebrew Bible, and it combines the history of America and the Constitution and things like that. Again, I can't say I went through all 2,000 and something pages and I can sign every word, but I enjoyed some of the stuff I read there. Yes, Monica?
So I have a question for you, Nathaniel.
Go ahead.
Have you ever heard of Dr. David H. Stern?
H. Stern, I know from the jewelry. I don't know David H. Stern.
Yeah, he wrote. He translated from the Hebrew and the Greek into English, and it's called the Complete Jewish Bible. And he's got the Old and New Testament there.
Mm-hmm.
Hard to see. It's actually backwards, but the Complete Jewish Bible. So I was wondering, because we were talking about how Hebrew almost became the language, tongue in cheek, and so would that be anathema for him to translate the Hebrew and the Greek into English?
Listen.
Well, especially as a single translator, usually you have a group.
Yeah. First of all, Robert Alter is Robert Alter is the last one who completed like a single-handed translation of the Hebrew into English. Again, about the Greek, I'm not an expert, so I don't know. But his translation is interesting and it's worth noticing as well. Robert Alter is an expert on Bible narrative and Bible poetry, and so it's worth also noting. I don't know the translation of David H. Stern. There are again, the whole purpose of us being here is at the end of the day not to need these translations.
Yeah.
But it's it's a good thing. If one person does it, there are certain advantages. So
yeah.
he has
I've read it through twice, and I think he was the president for Jews for Jesus, maybe.
I don't know. I wouldn't
Chosen
know.
People Ministries. I'm not sure which one.
I really wouldn't know that part. If you want, there is on my YouTube channel a discussion that I made with Professor Everett Fox, who has not yet completed his translation of the Bible, but it's very interesting, very unique. We talk about the history of the Buber-Rosenzweig translation and its effect on his translation. Also, a discussion with Professor Ed Greenstein about his translation of the Book of Job, which is always a challenge when it comes to translations. So you're more than welcome. These would be very interesting if you're looking at the details of translating the Hebrew into English. I don't know specifically the policy of that translation by David H. Stern, but it's an incredible fit, to do that. Now,
Nathaniel?
yeah.
Yes, Frank. I did start looking at that. I actually did use that Complete Jewish Bible quite a few years ago. It's one of the things that inspired me to pursue the language in the first place, because Stern, being very, very thorough, he noted very carefully in his translation where the translation was uncertain because they did not know what a word or word phrase or so forth meant. And I thought to myself, okay, so this is the case with translations,
Right. This is also
where
very
do
common
I
in
go? Where do I go to get the truth?
Right. This is also very common in the 1985 JPS, like the new JPS.
Yes.
Many annotations. Hebrew is uncertain. the joke was that, you know, it was so frequently written there that Hebrew is uncertain that when they published it, they said to the JPS, couldn't you find someone who knows Hebrew? You know, yeah, but that, yeah.
I have another question. And if it was Thanksgiving, it'd be more pertinent, maybe. One of the words that I observed, not eating unclean meats, and I only eat clean meats. I'm not quite with the kosher, but in our background, we try to obey the laws. And one of the words that came up, and I tried this meat several years ago and I liked it, was ostrich. And that's one of the Hebrew words that they say that the meaning is unclear if that's the bird it's referring to. So is ostrich considered unclean or not?
Okay, so modern Hebrew has the bat ya'ana as the translation of ostrich. Now, when it comes to reality of biblical reality questions, that is, what is a certain place, a certain word, not like a place or an object or something like that. Oftentimes there are different opinions as to what is the actual word behind it. I'm not an expert on this ya'ana, but this is how it is. Bat ya'ana in Leviticus 11 as well as Deuteronomy 14 is traditionally viewed as the ostrich, which means it is in the list of the unclean animals.
Okay.
Again, I'm not sure if it is indeed historically the ostrich. I'm sure that people have written about it. I think that the common translation has it as the ostrich, and maybe the Greek is different. Okay, the Greek suggests it's a different kind of bird, maybe some kind of a sparrow. Again, with the big difference between the ostrich and the sparrow, I'm well aware of the different birds. But as far as bat haya'ana, traditionally translated as ostrich, and is found among the list of unclean animals in the book of Leviticus as well as in the book of Deuteronomy. Now, in order to get into the nitty-gritty, you have the maybe you want to look up in the lexicons, maybe the halot, the BDB certainly has it as an ostrich as well as the halot. So possibly it's that's the traditional approach. I'm not an expert on zoology of the Bible, so there might be other opinions. As I said, in the Septuagint, it is understood not as the ostrich. So, okay.
Daniel?
And I read the Greek, so I'll just look for it in the Greek, and I haven't even thought about the Septuagint. So,
right.
Hey, who was the author you mentioned before who did a complete translation of the Hebrew Bible? You mentioned his name.
Robert Alter. Professor Robert Alter.
His last name is Ulter.
Nah, I wanted to make fun and to spell out the word Robert for you, but yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. His name, he has also a Hebrew name. He calls himself Uri Alter, but his English name is Robert Alter. Right. Alter. So, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. First of all, you can see there Yom HaAtzmaut at the top, right, Chris?
Yes, there it is. That's what I was
there. Yeah, there.
About.
Right. The root is Ain, Tzadi, and Mem. That has to do with. I actually wrote an email about you around Yom HaAtzmaut about this word. It has to do with selfness or self-reliance. Etzem is literally bone. The root Ain Tzadi Mem has to do with bone, and it means also self. Okay, when Jacob comes to Laban and he starts working for him for free, okay, he says, "Ach atzmi uvsari ata." He says, oh, you are my flesh and bone. So etze means bone, but it also means self. Okay? Because it's ourselves, our bone, our very bones. Okay? So Yom Ha'atzma'ut is the day of, okay, Yom, day, Ha, definite article with a kamatz before an ein, right? Atzma'ut is self-reliance. That's not a biblical Hebrew word, but you can see it's a biblical root, ein, tzadi, and mem, and you can see the ut, the suffix ut, for abstract nouns, which we also have in cherut, liberty, cherut, liberty. The ut at the end is biblical, more common in late biblical Hebrew. That is, this suffix is more common in parts of the Bible that were written during the Second Temple period. But we already see some examples of the ut at the end of nouns already in the First Temple period, representing or as an ending for nouns. Again, it's an ending for abstract nouns usually. So independence is abstract nouns because an abstract noun, you cannot touch it. It's not concrete. Cherut, right? Liberty, you cannot touch it. Okay? So that's the ut, more common in late biblical Hebrew and post-biblical Hebrew words. Okay. Chaim, life. Yes, lechaim, right? We say lechaim. Cheers to life. Okay, sure you know the fiddler on the roof, right? Lechaim, to life.
Yes.
Okay. Right now, so the right for chaim, life, liberty. So we have few words for liberty. Chofesh is one of them. Okay. I like deror, right? Because the Bell of Liberty has, which verse is written on the Bell of Liberty? Guys?
Somewhere
Anyone
in
know?
Leviticus.
Yeah, which verse in Leviticus?
Ani lo zokeret.
Oh, lo zocheret Lida, why don't you remember? You should have asked me that when I was by you for the elections of 2016.
2016.
Right, 2016. I saw, yeah, we saw the elections together. You're right. So
It's a reference to, it was a reference to the Jubilee year, I
Yes,
think.
it was.
right, וקראתם דרור בארץ לכל יושביה. Lida, how are you doing? Lida, how are you?
Ani metzoyan, ani tov.
Okay, excellent. Good to hear you. Good to hear that you're doing well. Excellent. How are your students doing?
We're off the whole summer. I'll be teaching again this coming fall semester.
Why don't you invite me as a visiting professor to
Sure, why
harass
not?
your students? Yeah.
It will be in September. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll arrange it.
Sure. So Leviticus 25:10, written on the Bell of Liberty. And if you come to Jerusalem, there is a garden. There is in Jerusalem that is known as the Bell Garden, the Bell Park, or the Bell Garden, where you have a copy of the Liberty Bell. So you either come to Philadelphia or Jerusalem.
And
You decide. Okay. So Leviticus 25:10, וקראתם דרור בארץ לכל יושביה. So that's terror. So usually, though, translated, if we're talking about this phrase, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, so chaim, cherut, cherut or chofesh, though dror is a beautiful word, I like it. Now, the pursuit of happiness. So pursuit could be mirdaf or redifa. Both patterns exist in biblical Hebrew, though not specifically with this root. And it could be achar ha'osher or acharei ha'osher. You might recognize the word osher from ashrei. Happy is the man. Ashrei ha'ish asher lo halach ba'atzat reshayim. Happy is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked. Psalm 1:1, right? So hamirdaf achar ha'osher or haredifa achar ha'osher. So life, chayim, liberty, chofesh, cheruto, deron, and the pursuit of happiness, ve'hamirdaf achar ha'osher or haredifa achar ha'osher. Now, also fun fact, zikukim or zikukim dinur, zikukei dinur also. The part of dinur is actually Aramaic.
Mm.
That means, what does it mean in Aramaic, guys? Dinur.
Off fire.
Right, of fire. Dinur. So zikukin dinur, based on Daniel 7:10, nehar dinur.
Zikukim.
Either zikukim or zikukin dinur or zikukei dinur. We also have the masculine plural construct form. So guys, and let's take another question. Yeah, even though I'm already exceeding the hour. So go ahead. Last question. Don't be shy. Okay.
Okay, I'll ask a question.
Go ahead, Lida.
Zikukin, that would be the plural. Of
Right, it would be the
the
plural, though as you've seen, we had there two options. There is the regular Hebrew plural zikukim, and there is the Aramaic influenced zikukin.
the noon.
Right, with the noon.
With that, we can also call that the paragogic noon.
No. It's just the noon of the plural from the Aramaic as well as post-biblical Hebrew. In you know that the noon and the mem at the end of the word
Mhm.
are you know, you have like Spanish speaking or Portuguese speaking people. It's hard to tell sometimes if it's an M or an N at the end of the word. Because these two consonants are close. They're phonetically, they're a minimal pair. I'm not getting into the whole phonetics of it at the moment, but they're very close to one another. So in Hebrew, standard biblical Hebrew, usually you've got the mem at the end of the masculine plural absolute noun, right? Zikukim or sarim, melachim, susim. Right? In Aramaic, you usually have the nun at the end of the plural, and you also see that in post-biblical Hebrew.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's the reason we find the nun there. It's not the nun paragogicum, not the nun energicum, not the nun whatever.